In a world where AAA blockbusters get all the attention, it's easy to overlook the hidden gems, the AA games that punch way above their weight. These are the games made with smaller budgets and fewer resources, yet they deliver unforgettable experiences, sometimes even outshining the big dogs. Whether it's brilliant storytelling, creative gameplay, or insanely good atmosphere, these AA masterpieces prove that you don't need $1 billion budget to make an amazing game. In this list, we're diving into 20 must-play AA games that every gamer should experience. Robocop, Rogue City. You play as Alex Murphy, a Detroit cop turned cybernetic crime fighter tasked with cleaning up the city's violent underbelly. The story fits perfectly into the Robocop universe, with dark satirical themes about corporate greed, corruption, and the line between man and machine. You'll face ruthless gangs, shady corporations, and corrupt cops, all while piecing together a larger conspiracy. The narrative is surprisingly well written. It's not just a mindless action fest, it dives into Murphy's fading humanity. You'll see glimpses of his past life, wrestle with what's left of his emotions, and face moral choices that actually impact the story. Whether you play as a by-the-book cop or dish out brutal street justice,
I assist you, officer.
I'm trying to catch this one shifty deal.
The game reacts to your decisions, making you feel like you're shaping Robocop's legacy. But the real star here is the gameplay, and it absolutely nails the power fantasy of being Robocop. You move like a walking tank, slow, deliberate, but practically unstoppable. You can shrug off bullets, punch enemies through walls, and obliterate entire gangs with pinpoint-accurate headshots. The game captures that mechanical, powerful feel perfectly, making you feel like a relentless force of justice. The gunplay is incredibly satisfying. Robocop's signature Auto 9 pistol tears through enemies with brutal precision, and you can slowly upgrade it with explosive rounds, piercing shots, and rapid-fire mods, turning it into an absolute handheld cannon. You'll also get to use heavier weapons like shotguns, machine guns, and even grenade launchers, but nothing beats the sheer fun of landing perfect Auto 9 headshots and watching enemies crumble under the firepower. But Rogue City isn't just mindless shooting. It surprisingly mixes in detective elements and RPG-style decision-making. Investigate crime scenes, question suspects, and choose how you handle criminals, whether you arrest them or go full Robocop and deal out lethal justice. There are also dialogue choices that affect how the story unfolds, making it more layered than you'd expect. The atmosphere is spot on. Detroit is grim, dirty, and drenched in neon, with crime-ridden streets, shady alleys, and corrupt corporate offices. The environments are dripping with 80s-style dystopian flair, making it feel like you're walking through the original movies. And the game absolutely nails the Robocop aesthetic, with authentic sound effects, synth-heavy music, and brutal, over-the-top violence. What makes Rogue City stand out is how it doesn't try to be more than it needs to be. It sticks to its strengths: badass Robocop action, solid storytelling, and just the right amount of player choice. It embraces its B-movie roots, giving you campy one-liners, blood-soaked shootouts, and cheesy but charming dialogue. By the time you finish, you'll feel like you just played through a lost Robocop movie with plenty of callbacks, fan service, and action-packed set pieces. It's a rare AA gem that knows exactly what it wants to be. A fun power fantasy shooter with surprisingly deep storytelling and authentic Robocop vibes. A Plague Tale Requiem. A Plague Tale Requiem is one of those games that hits you right in the gut, in the best and worst way possible. It's beautiful, heartbreaking, and brutal all at once, and by the end, you'll probably just sit there in silence, wondering how a game about two kids running from rats could wreck your soul this hard. The game follows Amisha and her little brother Hugo as they try to escape the curse that's been haunting them since the first game. Hugo has this terrifying power that lets him control rats, but the more he uses it, the worse his condition gets. The poor kid just wants to be normal, but his powers are basically turning the world into a rat-infested hellscape. Meanwhile, Amisha, who's barely even an adult herself, is forced to be both his protector and a ruthless killer. You'll watch her slowly break, and it's honestly tough to see. The story hits hard because it's so human. It's not about saving the world or stopping some evil villain. It's just two siblings desperately clinging to hope, even as everything keeps falling apart. And Amicia, she's tired, angry, and way more violent this time. You can feel her frustration every time she snaps and kills someone. She's basically a teenager carrying the weight of the apocalypse, and it's both powerful and tragic. But the gameplay itself, oh man, it's brutal and brilliant. You're not some superhero, you're a teenage girl with a crossbow and a whole lot of stress, which makes the combat feel raw and messy in a good way. You can sneak around, set traps, or just go full-on John Wick with firebombs and Hugo's rat powers. And the rats? They're basically a tsunami of death this time. You'll see entire cities get swallowed by them. It's both horrifying and kind of fascinating to watch. The game also looks absolutely gorgeous. One minute you're wandering through a golden wheat field feeling like you're in a painting, and the next you're watching a castle crumble under a wave of rats. The lighting, the weather effects, and even the tiny details in the characters' faces make it feel next level beautiful, like an art film with stealth and rat-based murder. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is one of the most haunting and powerful games you'll ever play. It's dark, beautiful, and genuinely disturbing, but not in a cheap jump scare way. This is psychological horror done right, and by the end, you'll probably feel like you need to lie down for a bit. You play as Senua, a Celtic warrior, on a desperate quest to save the soul of her dead lover. But here's the thing, Senua is tormented by psychosis. She hears voices, sees hallucinations, and questions what's real. And the game doesn't just tell you this, it makes you experience it firsthand. You'll hear whispers in your ears, feel the paranoia closing in, and struggle with the constant dread of not knowing what's real. It's genuinely unsettling, but brilliantly immersive. The story itself is simple but incredibly emotional. Senua believes she can fight her way into Helheim, basically Viking hell, to rescue her lover's soul. But her journey is more personal. It's about facing grief, trauma, and mental illness.
Don't kill me.
As you play, you'll see glimpses of her past, the abuse she suffered, the loss she endured, and it makes her determination feel painfully human. But what makes Hellblade hit so hard is how it puts you in Senua's shoes. The voices in her head aren't just creepy background noise, they taunt you, confuse you, and sometimes even help you. One voice might warn you of an enemy attacking from behind, while another might mock you for being weak. Shh. It's constantly disorienting, making you second-guess everything, and when you're fighting for your life, those voices get louder and more frantic, making the tension absolutely nerve-wracking. The combat is brutal and raw, but it's deliberately simple. You're not some overpowered warrior, you're just Senua, fighting through her pain. The clashes feel slow and heavy, with every swing carrying weight. You'll dodge, block, and strike, but the real fight is the mental battle. The screen distorts when you're overwhelmed, and the voices scream louder, making you feel Senua's struggle with every step. Visually, Hellblade is stunning in the most unsettling way. The landscapes feel otherworldly with twisting, surreal environments that blur the line between reality and illusion. You'll walk through forests made of bones, stand on beaches of blood-soaked sand, and stare into endless haunting voids. The visual distortion effects and shifting environments make you constantly question what's real, which makes the whole experience feel like a fever dream. But the most powerful part of Hellblade is how raw and human it feels. The game doesn't glorify Senua's mental illness, it shows it with painful honesty. The developers worked with neuroscientists and people with psychosis to make the experience as authentic as possible, and it shows in every moment. It's not just a game, it's an emotional experience that puts you in the mind of someone battling inner demons.
Well, it's nice to meet you. And
The Forgotten City. The Forgotten City is one of those rare games that sneaks up on you. It starts off feeling like a simple mystery. You wake up in an ancient Roman city cursed by the gods. The twist, if even one person sins, everyone in the city is turned into gold. Your job is to figure out who's going to break the golden rule and stop them. The catch? You're stuck in a time loop, meaning every time the city falls, you restart the day with all your knowledge intact. At first it feels like a detective story, but the deeper you go, the more complex and morally twisted it becomes. You'll uncover dark secrets, philosophical debates, and staggering revelations that'll mess with your head. The writing is phenomenal. Every character feels flawed and believable with their own motives and struggles. Some are desperate, some are greedy, and some are just plain shady, making every interaction feel unpredictable. What makes the game so clever is how it rewards creativity. You can solve problems in multiple ways through persuasion, deception, or manipulation. And because of the time loop, you can get away with things you normally couldn't. Steal money? No problem, just reset the day and keep the cash. It makes you feel smart without ever feeling cheap. The city itself is hauntingly gorgeous. The golden statues, frozen in terrified poses, tell silent stories of suffering. The crumbling Roman architecture, paired with faint whispers of lost souls, creates an eerie, dreamlike atmosphere. It feels ancient, tragic, and surreal all at once. But the real brilliance of the Forgotten City is its philosophical depth. The game constantly challenges your morality, asking questions like, what is a sin? Or, do the ends justify the means? It doesn't spoon-feed you answers. Instead, it forces you to think for yourself, making every choice feel meaningful. And just when you think you have it all figured out, the game hits you with some wild twists that'll blow your mind. The final revelations are so shocking that you'll want to replay it just to catch all the clues you missed.
Stephen King once wrote that nightmares exist.
Alan Wake? Alan Wake is the perfect game for anyone who loves a good psychological thriller with a dash of supernatural horror. It's mysterious, intense, and dripping with atmosphere, making you feel like you're trapped in a Stephen King novel, except you're the main character and everything is out to get you. You play as Alan Wake, a best-selling author who takes a trip to the small town of Bright Falls with his wife, hoping to cure his writer's block. But things go sideways fast. Alan's wife mysteriously disappears, and suddenly he's being hunted by shadowy figures called the Taken, people who've been consumed by darkness.
You missed your deadline!
To make things even weirder, Alan discovers that he's somehow written a horror story that's coming to life, but he has no memory of writing it. The story is brilliantly told, constantly blurring the line between reality and fiction. You'll find pages of Alan's manuscripts scattered around, describing events before they happen, creating this eerie sense of dread. And just when you think you understand what's going on, the game throws in another twist that'll mess with your head. But it's not just the story that makes the game so gripping, it's the atmosphere. Bright Falls looks like your typical quiet town, but it feels off in the creepiest way possible. The forests are thick with fog, the moonlight barely cuts through the shadows, and the stillness is constantly broken by unsettling sounds. A branch snapping, a distant whisper, or something stalking you just out of sight. It's oppressively atmospheric in the best way. The combat is simple but intense. The Taken are vulnerable to light, so you use your flashlight to burn away their darkness before you can finish them off with a gun. It sounds straightforward, but when a swarm of shadowy figures ambushes you in the pitch-black woods, and your flashlight battery is running low, it gets incredibly tense. And since light is your only real defense, finding safe havens with street lamps feels weirdly comforting, even though you know it's only temporary. The game also nails its pacing. It's structured like a TV show with episodes that end on cliffhangers, complete with previously on Alan Wake recaps. It makes you feel like you're binge watching a supernatural thriller, and it's addictive as hell. But what really makes Alan Wake stand out is how clever and self-aware it is. The game constantly references horror tropes in literature with nods to Stephen King, Twin Peaks, and classic psychological thrillers. Alan himself is flawed and relatable, and you'll genuinely feel his desperation as he struggles to understand what's real and what's part of his own twisted imagination.
Real nut house.
Life is Strange 2. You play as Sean Diaz, a regular 16-year-old kid whose life gets flipped upside down in the worst way possible. One moment he's hanging out with his little brother Daniel, and the next their dad is shot by a cop. It's brutal, sudden, and it forces Sean and Daniel to run away. But here's the twist. Daniel has telekinesis. Yep, the kid can move objects with his mind, which is super cool, except when he accidentally causes chaos. The game isn't about superhero powers though, it's about the bond between the brothers. You spend the whole game traveling from town to town, trying to stay hidden while finding your way to Mexico, where you hope to start a new life. And because Daniel is still a kid, he learns from everything you do. If you steal food, he'll think it's okay to take what he wants, but if you choose kindness, he'll grow up believing in compassion. Your choices don't just affect you, they shape Daniel into the person he becomes. And man, it gets heavy. You'll meet strangers who offer kindness and others who treat you like dirt just because of who you are. The game isn't afraid to get real. It tackles racism, immigration, and police brutality. You'll feel how unfair the world can be, especially for two kids just trying to survive. But it's not all depressing. There are some beautiful moments too, like when the brothers camp out under the stars, roasting marshmallows and sharing goofy stories, or when Daniel goes full kid mode, getting excited over dogs, snow, and silly pranks. It's these small, warm moments that make the painful ones hit even harder. The choices you make feel real, and they're never easy. Do you teach Daniel to fight back against cruelty, or teach him to walk away? Do you put yourself at risk to help strangers, or keep Daniel safe no matter what? The game never judges you, but you'll feel the weight of your decisions. Visually, the game is gorgeous. The open roads, pine forests, and dusty deserts make the road trip feel authentic. You'll travel through sleepy towns, dusty motels, and camps full of wanderers, and each place has its own vibe. The art style is simple but emotional, making every sunset and rainy road feel poetic and bittersweet.
Nobody comes out here to picnic anymore. Well, that's good for us.
Observer System Redux. Observer. System Redux is one of those games that just gets under your skin and stays there. It's creepy, weird, and unsettling, but in a way that makes you want to keep going, even when you're low-key freaked out. You play as Daniel Lazarski, a detective in a dystopian future where people can plug their minds into computers. But Daniel's not your average cop, he's an observer, meaning he can hack into people's memories and experience their thoughts and fears firsthand. Which sounds cool, right? Yeah, until you start seeing their nightmares. The story kicks off with Daniel getting a call from his estranged son, who seems to be in trouble. When Daniel tracks him down, he finds a dead body in a shady apartment building, and from there, everything goes straight to hell. The game isn't about solving a simple crime, it's about digging through broken minds and witnessing some seriously disturbing stuff. The mind-hacking sequences are where the game really shines and where it gets straight up messed up. You'll see people's darkest memories, but nothing makes sense. One moment you're walking through a glitchy hallway, and the next you're in a twisted, pixelated nightmare where the walls breathe and the furniture moves on its own. It's trippy as hell, and you'll constantly feel on edge, not knowing what's real or fake. The setting is straight up depressing, in a good way. The whole game takes place in a run-down apartment complex where everyone is either dead, missing, or paranoid. The hallways are dim and filthy, flickering lights barely work, and you'll constantly hear disturbing whispers and weird mechanical noises. It's claustrophobic as hell, making you feel stuck in this decaying cyberpunk hellhole. What's cool about Observer is how it balances detective work with horror. You'll investigate crime scenes, scan for blood, clues, and DNA, but then you'll jack into someone's mind and everything goes full-on psychological horror. And it's not just cheap jump scares, it's the slow, disturbing kind that messes with your head. Oh, and Rutger Hauer, the guy from Blade Runner, voices Daniel, which makes the whole experience even better. His gruff, tired voice makes Daniel feel like a man who's seen some real messed up stuff and just wants to get through one more case. The Redux version adds better visuals and extra content, making the already eerie atmosphere even more haunting. The lighting is darker, the environments look grimier, and the new side missions add more backstory and twisted lore. Overall, Observer System, Redux is like diving headfirst into a glitchy, fever dream version of Blade Runner. It's weird, unsettling, and genuinely disturbing, but it keeps you hooked. If you love creepy, mind-bending sci-fi with a dark detective vibe, this one's 100% worth your time.
Was removed post-mortem. It's possible the killer took it.
Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning is one of those games that kind of flew under the radar when it first came out, but man, it deserves way more love. It's got a massive open world, fun combat, and tons of customization, making it stupidly addictive once you get into it. You play as the Fateless One, which is basically a fancy way of saying you're the only person in the world who isn't bound by fate. Everyone else, their lives are already written, but you're a wild card. You can rewrite fate itself, which makes you a huge threat to the evil forces trying to control the world. The plot isn't super groundbreaking, but it's still solid. There's war, magic, destiny, and plenty of cool fantasy twists. What really makes the game shine, though, is the combat. It's fast, flashy, and super satisfying. You've got tons of weapons and abilities, and you can mix and match classes however you want. You want to be a magic-wielding rogue? Go for it. A warrior who throws fireballs? No problem. The game doesn't lock you into one build, which makes experimenting fun as hell. Plus, pulling off huge combos and unleashing brutal finishers never gets old. The world is massive and beautifully designed with lush forests, glowing caves, and massive open plains. It feels like stepping into a fantasy novel with plenty of side quests, dungeons, and hidden treasures to find. And since every region has its own look and lore, exploring never feels boring. One of the best parts is how flexible the game lets you be. If you get bored of your build, you can literally reset all your skills and try something new. It makes the gameplay feel fresh even after hours of play, and trust me, you'll be here for a while. The game is stupidly huge with dozens of hours of quests, faction missions, and tons of gear to collect. Remnant II. You ever play a game that just refuses to hold your hand? Yeah, that's Remnant 2. It drops you into its brutal, twisted world and basically says, figure it out or die trying. And you will die a lot, but the thing is, you'll keep coming back because it's just that damn good. At its core, Remnant 2 is a third-person shooter, but it's got the soul of a hardcore RPG. You'll explore bizarre, randomly generated worlds, fight nightmarish creatures, and take on some of the most creative bosses you'll ever see. And the best part, every playthrough is different. The game remixes the layout, enemies, and even entire quest lines, making every run feel fresh, even if you've already beaten it. The randomization makes exploring a blast. You'll never know what's coming next. Sometimes you'll stumble into a mini dungeon with a crazy hidden boss. Other times you'll find a merchant with rare gear. The constant surprises keep the game wildly unpredictable. And man, the build variety is insane. You pick an archetype, which is basically your class, but later on you can dual class, creating some wild combos. Want to be a stealthy sniper with healing powers? Go for it. Or maybe a tank that summons minions? You can do that too. The freedom to mix and match abilities makes every build feel personal, and it's stupidly fun experimenting. The co-op is where it gets real spicy. Playing solo is tough, but running with friends turns it into pure chaos. Enemies scale with your team, so fights get more intense, but coordinating your builds makes it super rewarding. Plus, it's just way more fun laughing with your buddies when you all get absolutely destroyed by a giant mutant deer out of nowhere. Visually, Remnant 2 is gorgeous and freaky at the same time. The worlds feel alien and surreal, with twisted forests, crumbling ruins, and corrupted cities that all feel alive with detail. The lighting and particle effects make the environments pop, and the enemy designs are straight up nightmare fuel. Honestly, Remnant 2 is one of the best co-op shooters out there. It's challenging, unpredictable, and endlessly replayable. Whether you're fighting through it solo or with friends, you'll keep coming back for more because it's just that damn fun. Evil West. Evil West is just pure dumb fun. And I mean that in the best way possible. It's the kind of game where you're punching vampires so hard they explode, and honestly, that's all it needs to be. You play as Jesse Rentier, a cowboy vampire hunter with a massive electric gauntlet and a whole bunch of guns, going around wrecking anything with fangs. The story? Who cares? It's just an excuse to kill monsters in the Wild West, and that's good enough for me. Now, the combat, straight up awesome. You got pistols, shotguns, rifles, and even a flamethrower, but the real MVP is your gauntlet. You can electrocute enemies, juggle them in the air, and smash them into the ground like you're playing Devil May Cry. It's fast, brutal, and stupidly satisfying. Like, you can punch a vampire so hard, it flies into a spike trap, and trust me, that never gets old. The enemies are pretty cool too. You'll fight hordes of minions, huge brutes, and some wild-ass boss monsters. And they're not just brainless bullet sponges, they'll rush you, teleport, and spam area attacks, so you can't just button mash. You'll need to mix up your gunplay and melee to stay alive. The locations are sick. You'll be storming through grimy swamps, abandoned mines, and creepy vampire nests. The whole game looks like some dark, twisted Western movie, and it totally nails the vibe. The lighting and atmosphere make it feel gritty as hell, especially when you're fighting under blood-red skies. And yeah, the upgrade system is simple but fun. You unlock new skills and perks, making your combos even crazier. By the end, you'll be wrecking entire groups of enemies without breaking a sweat. Honestly, Evil West is just a good time, no fluff. It's the kind of game you boot up when you want to turn your brain off and wreck some monsters. If you're in the mood for big guns, bigger punches, and non-stop carnage, you'll have a blast with this one.
A basic universal concept.
The Surge 2. The Surge 2 is one of those games that doesn't give a damn about holding your hand. It just throws you into its brutal, futuristic world and basically says, good luck, sucker, and honestly, that's why it's so fun. You play as some random dude, or lady, who wakes up after a plane crash in Jericho City, which is now a complete war zone, overrun with killer robots, insane mercenaries, and people who've gone nuts thanks to a technovirus. The plot is fine, but let's be real, you're here for the combat, and man, the combat hits hard. It's Souls-like, so you'll dodge, parry, and die a lot, but the limb tagging system makes it way more strategic. You can lock onto specific body parts, like arms, legs, or even heads, and slice them clean off. Why? Because ripping off enemy limbs gives you new gear. You want that sick armored leg piece? Chop off their leg. Need a better weapon? Off with their arm. It's gruesome, creative, and stupidly fun. And the gear system is awesome. You'll collect tech scrap from enemies and use it to upgrade your armor, weapons, and implants. Implants act like mods, giving you stuff like health boosts, damage buffs, or even weird energy-based abilities. You can mix and match builds, making your character feel totally unique. The world design is top tier. Jericho City is gritty, broken, and chaotic with dense slums, dark alleyways, and creepy industrial zones. It's all interconnected with tons of shortcuts and hidden paths, making exploration super rewarding. And since the world changes as you progress, you'll keep finding new stuff, even in areas you've already cleared. The enemies are relentless. You'll fight killer robots, cyborgs, and mutated freaks that'll wreck you in seconds if you're not careful. But the boss fights? That's where it really shines. These guys are huge, fast, and deadly with wild attack patterns that'll keep you on edge. And beating them feels damn satisfying. Oh, and the combat customization is wild. You can mod your gear with elemental effects like electrifying your blades or making your punches burn with fire. So you're not just slicing through enemies, you're shocking, burning, and dismembering them in the most savage ways possible. Graphically, the Surge 2 looks great with detailed environments, slick animations, and some brutal finishing moves that never get old. And the sound design is on point. The crunch of metal limbs and the satisfying clunk of your exosuit punches make every fight feel gritty and brutal. Overall, the Surge 2 is a criminally underrated gem. It's got tough, rewarding combat, deep customization, and limb-chopping action that makes every fight feel intense. If you're into Souls-like games but want something with a sci-fi twist, this one will absolutely hook you. Shadow Warrior 2. Shadow Warrior 2 is just, again, pure fun. It's the kind of game where you're dual-wielding shotguns, slicing up demons with a freaking katana, and cracking dumb jokes the whole time. It's fast, messy, and glorious chaos. You play as Lo Wang, yeah, that's his actual name, a cocky, loud-mouthed mercenary who fights demons for a living. The story? Whatever, bro. Something about corporations, magic, and saving the world, but let's be real, you'll skip through half of it. You're here to wreck monsters and make a mess, not follow some deep plot. Now the combat, absolutely insane. You've got guns, swords, chainsaws, and even a flamethrower, and you can dual wield almost anything. That means pistol in one hand, grenade launcher in the other, because why not? The gunplay is super snappy and the melee combat brutal. You'll be dashing through groups of demons, slicing off limbs, and watching the blood spray everywhere. It's gory, over the top, and stupidly fun. The enemies are wild. You'll be fighting everything from demon ninjas to giant mutant freaks, and they come at you fast. You'll be bouncing around the map, slashing, shooting, and pulling off ridiculous combos, and somehow, it never gets old. The loot system makes it even better. It's basically Borderlands style with tons of random weapons and modifiers. You'll find guns with fire, electric, or ice damage, and you can upgrade them with perks like lifesteal or extra crit damage. It makes every weapon feel different, and you'll be constantly swapping loadouts just to see how ridiculous you can get. The world design is actually pretty cool. You'll be running through neon-lit cities, misty forests, and creepy demon temples. It's all colorful, stylish, and weirdly beautiful despite the blood and guts flying everywhere. At the end of the day, Shadow Warrior 2 is just pure video game fun. No filler, no fluff, just guns, swords, and non-stop demon-slaying action. If you want a game that lets you turn your brain off, dual-wield shotguns, and chop monsters in half for hours, this one's an easy way. The Ghostrunner. Ghostrunner is one of those games that kicks your ass right out of the gate, but in a good way. It's basically cyberpunk parkour with a katana, and it doesn't hold back. You'll be wall running, dashing, slicing dudes in half, and dying a lot, but somehow you'll love every second of it. You play as a cybernetic ninja called the Ghostrunner, creative I know, and your job is to scale this massive tower run by a tyrannical AI overlord named Mara. The world, dystopian as hell. Think Blade Runner meets Mirror's Edge, but with way more neon and blood. The gameplay is where it shines. It's fast, fluid, and brutally unforgiving. You've got one-hit kills, which sounds fun until you realize it applies to you too. One mistake, dead. But the checkpoints are instant, so you'll be back in the action within seconds, making it super addictive. And the movement is slick. You'll be wall running like a parkour pro, sliding under laser beams and dashing through the air to dodge bullets. The whole thing feels buttery smooth, and once you get in the zone, you'll be pulling off insane stunts without even thinking. The combat is all about precision. You've got a katana, and, well, that's pretty much it. But who needs more when you can slice through enemies in a single hit? You'll be zipping across rooms, cutting down cyborgs, and deflecting bullets mid-air. It's fast, flashy, and makes you feel like a total badass. And the abilities? Oh man, you can slow down time, mid-dash, throw shurikens, and even teleport through enemies, turning them into cyber slush. The game keeps adding new skills, making you faster, deadlier, and more ridiculous as you go. The level design is top tier too. You'll be scaling skyscrapers, running through neon-lit slums, and dodging lasers in high-tech labs. The cyberpunk aesthetic is gorgeous, with bright neon colors, reflections everywhere, and a killer synthwave soundtrack that makes every fight feel like a music video. And yeah, it's tough as nails. You'll die constantly, but the game never feels unfair. Every death is just you getting better, learning the rhythm, and becoming an unstoppable machine. It's the kind of game where you'll restart a section 20 times, but when you finally nail it in one flawless run, you'll feel like Neo in The Matrix. Kingdom Come Deliverance. Kingdom Come Deliverance is one of the most realistic RPGs ever made, but don't expect dragons or magic here. Instead, you're thrown into 1403 Bohemia, where you'll be fighting, drinking, and probably getting your ass kicked by some random peasant because you forgot to sharpen your sword. It's brutal, slow, and weirdly addictive. You play as Henry, a blacksmith's son, whose life goes to hell when his village is raided and burned down by a bunch of Hungarian invaders. You somehow survive, but your family gets slaughtered, so what do? Swear revenge? Nope. You wake up half-naked in a monastery, broke and completely useless in a fight, and that's exactly what makes it brilliant. The game doesn't hold your hand. You're weak, clumsy, and can barely swing a sword at first. You'll miss half your hits, get tired after 2 swings, and probably get wrecked by some drunk dude with a stick. But that's the beauty of it. You actually have to learn everything, from combat techniques to reading and even alchemy. It's slow, but rewarding as hell. And the combat system? Oh boy. It's not your typical hack and slash. It's weighty, technical, and honestly, kinda clunky at first. You'll be blocking, feinting, and trying not to stab yourself, and once you get good at it, fights feel intense and authentic.
Jesus Christ! Damn!
You'll be swinging at just the right angle, blocking perfectly, and absolutely wrecking some bandit who dared to mess with you. But the realism doesn't stop there. You'll need to keep Henry fed, well-rested, and clean. Yep, if you wander into town covered in blood and filth, people will avoid you. And if you wear noble armor, guards will treat you with respect. Even your speech skills matter. Dress like a noble and people will take you seriously. Show up looking like a homeless knight and they'll laugh you out of the castle. The world itself is stunning. It's not massive, but it's dense and beautiful. You'll be riding through lush forests, tiny villages, and authentic medieval towns. The game nails the atmosphere. You'll hear villagers chatting, blacksmiths hammering, and the occasional drunken brawl. It feels alive. Oh, and the little details, insane. Your armor degrades, so you'll need to repair it. Your sword gets dull, so you'll have to sharpen it. And if you don't clean yourself, people will literally complain about your stench. It's one of the most immersive worlds ever made for everyone. It's slow, tough, and frustrating at times, but that's exactly why it's so special. It makes every battle feel earned, every coin you make feel valuable, and every victory feel personal. If you want an RPG where you actually have to think, this one's an absolute must play.
I knew that the brothers were far too proud to ever lay down their guns.
Call of Juarez Gunslinger. Call of Juarez Gunslinger is one of the most underrated FPS gems out there, and I'm not even kidding. It's got tight gunplay, a killer Wild West setting, and a storytelling twist that makes the whole thing way more fun than you'd expect. It's short, sweet, and straight up badass. You play as Silas Graves, a grizzled old bounty hunter who shows up at a saloon and starts spinning wild tales about famous outlaws he supposedly fought. The cool part? You play through his flashbacks, but the dude exaggerates everything. 1 second you're fighting off 50 bandits, and the next he's like, actually it was 100, and boom, the game spawns more enemies right in front of you. The way the narration messes with the gameplay is hilarious and brilliant. The gunplay is where it shines. You've got classic revolvers, shotguns, rifles, and even dual-wielding pistols, making you feel like Clint Eastwood on steroids. The shootouts are fast, messy, and satisfying as hell. You'll be popping headshots in slow-mo, blowing bandits off balconies, and pulling off insane combos. And yeah, the slow-motion bullet time, that was pretty freaking cool. Anyway, the levels are fun as hell too. You'll be chasing outlaws through forests, fighting your way across moving trains, and surviving dynamite-filled ambushes. It's all super cinematic with tons of action-packed set pieces, but the real star is the storytelling twist. Since Silas is a lying bastard, you'll see the environment change mid-level as he revises his tale. You'll be fighting a group of outlaws, and suddenly he goes, wait, did I mention the Apache Warriors? And bam! Apache Warriors spawn out of nowhere. It's It's funny, creative, and makes the game feel unpredictable. Visually, the game's got a stylized comic book look with bold outlines and bright colors, which gives it a unique flair. It's like a graphic novel come to life, making every shootout feel stylish.
Billy. Maybe discretion was the better part of valor.
The Sinking City. The Sinking City is one of those weird-ass games that sneaks up on you. At first, it seems like just another detective game, but the deeper you go, the more you realize you're slowly losing your mind and loving it. It's basically Sherlock Holmes meets H.P. Lovecraft, with creepy cosmic horror, bizarre mysteries, and plenty of disturbing moments. You play as Charles Reed, a private detective who shows up in Oakmont, a flooded, rotting town where everyone's either insane, mutated, or both. You're there to investigate the town's supernatural weirdness, but also figure out why you're having freaky visions, and trust me, things get messed up fast. The detective gameplay is actually solid. You'll be searching for clues, linking evidence, and piecing together theories. There's no handholding, either you actually have to think like a detective. No quest markers or magical compasses here, just your brain and a notebook. You'll be matching clues, consulting archives, and solving some genuinely clever mysteries. But then the horror kicks in. You'll be exploring flooded streets, diving into sunken ruins, and running into some truly disturbing creatures. The monsters are grotesque, with slimy, tentacle-covered designs that feel straight out of Lovecraft's nightmares. And the atmosphere, super creepy. The town feels claustrophobic, eerie, and completely messed up. What makes it stand out is the insanity system. The more you're exposed to the supernatural, the crazier you get. You'll start hallucinating, seeing freaky visions, and questioning what's real. There are moments where you literally can't tell if you're fighting a monster or just losing your mind. It's trippy as hell, and it works perfectly for the setting. The combat, not the best. It's clunky and basic, and you'll probably wish there was less of it, but honestly, the detective stuff and atmosphere make up for it. You'll still push through the janky shooting just to see what kind of madness comes next. The world design is top-notch though. Oakmont feels gloomy and oppressive with flooded streets, crumbling buildings, and murky canals. You'll be rowing through the waterlogged alleys, exploring abandoned mansions, and wading through chest-deep sewage, all while fighting off fish-faced cultists. It's gross, grimy, and weirdly beautiful in a haunting way. And the side quests? Some of the darkest and strangest you'll find. You'll help a woman find her missing husband, only to discover he mutated into a sea monster. Or you'll track down a thief, only to realize they were stealing cursed artifacts that drive people insane. It's weird, twisted, and perfectly fitting for the game's tone.
Beep, beep.
Deliver Us Mars. Deliver Us Mars is one of those slow burn, story right in the feels, but it also makes you feel kind of small in the face of space's massive emptiness. It's part exploration, part puzzle solving, and part emotional gut punch, all wrapped up in a bleak sci-fi setting. You play as Kathy Johansson, an astronaut with some serious family baggage. Your mission? Travel to Mars to retrieve stolen colony ships that could save Earth, which is pretty much dying. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. Turns out your father is part of the group that stole the ships, making the whole thing super personal. So now you're not just saving humanity, you're chasing family ghosts too. The gameplay is slow and deliberate. You'll be exploring desolate Martian landscapes, climbing rocky cliffs, and solving puzzles. It's got that classic walking sim vibe, but with a bit more interactivity. The puzzles are clever, but not too hard, usually involving lasers, power routing, and manipulating objects. It's the kind of game where you'll stare at a console for 5 minutes, then feel like a genius when you figure it out. And the climbing mechanics, honestly, surprisingly good. You'll be using your pickaxes to scale cliffs, and it actually feels weighty and realistic. The terrain is rough, and slipping up means restarting a section. It gives the platforming parts some tension, which makes the traversal feel meaningful rather than just filler. But the real star here is the story. It's emotional, bittersweet, and really well written. Kathy's personal journey dealing with her father's betrayal, her own conflicted feelings, and the burden of saving humanity gives the game emotional weight. It's not just about exploring Mars, it's about exploring guilt, loss, and hope. Visually, the game nails the atmosphere. Mars feels barren, harsh, and lonely. The red desert stretch endlessly, and the faint dust storms in the distance make you feel insignificant. The abandoned colony ships are haunting, filled with echoes of the past, giving the whole thing a ghost town vibe. Now, it's not perfect, the facial animations can be kinda rough and some of the movement feels janky, but the strong narrative and atmosphere totally carry the experience. At the end of the day, Deliverance Mars is one of those rare games that sticks with you long after you finish it. It's not action-packed, but it's thoughtful, emotional, and beautifully haunting. If you're into slow-paced, story-driven sci-fi with gorgeous exploration and a heavy dose of feels, this one's a must-play. The Darkwood. Darkwood is one of the creepiest, most unsettling survival horror games you'll ever play, and it doesn't even need jump scares to mess with you. Instead, it slowly gets under your skin with pure dread and paranoia, making you feel like you're losing your mind right alongside your character. You play as some random dude, no fancy hero name here, stranded in a mysterious, twisted forest. The woods are spreading like a disease, swallowing villages and turning people into horrifying freaks. Your goal? Get out. But good luck with that, because the forest doesn't want you to leave. The gameplay is all about survival. During the day, you'll be exploring the forest, gathering supplies and crafting weapons and barricades, but once night falls, oh man, you're in for it. You'll be holed up in a tiny shack, barricading windows and clutching your rusty plank with nails, hoping you can fend off whatever's scratching at the door. And here's the thing, you can't even see properly. The game uses a cone of vision mechanic, which means you can only see what your character is facing, leaving you constantly paranoid about what's creeping behind you. You'll hear whispers, footsteps, and things moving in the darkness, but you won't know what's real and what's in your head. The combat? Clunky and stressful, but that's the point. You'll be swinging makeshift weapons and shooting rusty pistols, but every hit feels slow and desperate, and ammo is super rare, so you'll constantly be on edge, knowing you can't just blast your way out of trouble. The atmosphere is insanely effective. The forest feels alive, but in the worst way possible. The trees seem to watch you, the ground oozes with corruption, and everything feels wrong. You'll find disturbing little villages, abandoned homes, and weird NPCs who are either insane, infected, or both. And the story? It's cryptic and unsettling, told through vague journal entries, cryptic dialogue, and environmental clues. You'll piece together the mystery of the forest, but honestly, the less you know, the scarier it gets. The vague, dreamlike storytelling makes you feel like you're trapped in a nightmare you can't wake up from. Oh, and let's talk about the random events. You'll be hiding in your shack, and suddenly, a doll appears out of nowhere. Or you'll hear a child crying, but there's no one there. The game constantly messes with you, making you question what's real and what's just your sanity slipping away. The Signalis. This is survival horror boiled down to its raw, brutal form, but with a sci-fi twist that makes it feel fresh and disturbing as hell. It's weird, vague, and constantly messing with your head, which is exactly why it slaps so hard. You play as Elster, an android pilot who wakes up on a frozen hellhole of a planet after crash landing her ship. She's looking for her missing partner, but instead, she stumbles into an absolute nightmare. The place is crawling with corrupted androids, which are basically half-dead, glitching freaks with metal limbs and twitchy movements. It's sci-fi horror at its finest, bro. The gameplay? Classic survival horror, no BS. You'll be creeping through dimly lit corridors, solving puzzles, and managing your tiny-ass inventory like your life depends on it, because it does. You get 6 item slots, which means you're constantly making tough calls. Do you bring more ammo or a health pack, key item, or a flare? It's stressful in the best way possible. But the real star here is the atmosphere, which is pure nightmare fuel. The pixelated visuals give it this retro PS1 vibe, but don't let that fool you, it's creepy as hell. The grainy filters, glitch effects, and claustrophobic level design make you feel trapped and uneasy the entire time, and the sound design? Bro, it's haunting. You'll hear distant clanking, faint whispers, and static bursts that make you constantly second-guess what's around the corner. The story is, well, it's kind of confusing as hell. It's fragmented and dreamlike, mixing sci-fi horror with psychological dread. You'll find cryptic logs, disturbing notes, and weird flashbacks, but it never fully explains itself, and that's the genius of it. You're left with more questions than answers, which makes everything feel even more unsettling. And the world itself, just pure nightmare fuel. One minute you're in a rusty colony bunker, and the next you're walking through some surreal, broken reality with floating architecture and twisted visuals. It's trippy and disorienting, but it works so damn well. The Kenna, Bridge of Spirits. You ever play a game that just feels like a warm hug for your eyeballs? That's Kena Bridge of Spirits. It's stunning, emotional, and way better than it has any right to be considering it's Ember Labs' first game. But don't be fooled by the cute Pixar-style visuals. This one packs a serious punch, both emotionally and gameplay-wise. You play as Kena, a young spirit guide with a magic staff and the ability to help restless souls move on. The catch? Some spirits don't want to go quietly and they turn into vengeful, corrupted monsters. Your job is to kick their spectral asses while helping them find peace. It's basically a mix of combat, exploration, and emotional gut punches. The combat is pretty deep. At first you're just whacking enemies with your staff, but soon you'll unlock a bow, which feels super satisfying to use. You'll be firing off spirit arrows, parrying attacks, and using your adorable rot companions, basically tiny black fluff balls with big eyes, to distract and weaken enemies. And man, these little guys aren't just cute, they're crucial for solving puzzles and wrecking bosses. And the bosses? No joke, for such a bright, colorful game, Kena surprisingly throws some tough fights at you. You'll need to time your dodges, land precise parries, and strategically use your rot abilities. Some of the late game bosses will smack you around if you're not paying attention. It's challenging but fair, which makes every victory feel super satisfying. But where Kena really shines is its world and atmosphere. The forest environments are absolutely gorgeous, like Studio Ghibli level breathtaking. You'll be wandering through mystical woods, climbing ancient ruins, and exploring colorful villages. The lighting, particle effects, and fluid animations make the whole thing feel alive, like you're playing through an interactive animated movie. And then you've got the story, which is surprisingly emotional. You're helping spirits find peace, but their backstories hit hard. Some of them are tragic, bittersweet, and beautifully told through flashbacks and environmental details. You'll get attached to the characters, even the ones who only show up for a short time. It's the kind of game that sneaks up on you with its emotional moment. The Rock Companions deserve a whole section of their own. These adorable little creatures follow you around and they're constantly doing cute stuff, sitting on Kena's head, playing with flowers, or hopping into tiny hats you can find. And yes, you can customize their look with hats, because why not? They're both adorable and useful, helping you move objects, solve puzzles, and enhance your combat abilities. A Way Out. A Way Out is a pure co-op game. You can't play it alone, you'll need a friend, and honestly, that's what makes it so good. You and your buddy become Leo and Vincent, two guys trying to break out of prison. They start off as strangers, but as the story goes on, they become close, almost like brothers. The gameplay keeps things fresh the whole time. You'll be sneaking past guards, boosting each other over walls, and teaming up for escape plans. It's not just action though. You'll also do random stuff like playing board games, fishing, or even competing in silly mini-games. It makes the world feel real and gives you a break from the tension. The combat and chases are fast-paced and fun. You'll punch goons, steal cars, and run from the cops. The split-screen style makes it feel like you're both in a movie. Even when you're doing different stuff, one of you might be in a cutscene while the other is still playing, which makes it feel unique. But the best part? The story hits hard.
Alright, shut down. Come on through.
What starts as a simple escape turns into something way deeper. The twist near the end will probably shock you, and the final showdown? Let's just say you and your friend might not be so friendly afterward. A Way Out is short but memorable. It's emotional, creative, and way more fun with a buddy. If you're looking for a co-op game with a great story and fun teamwork, this one's a must-play. Just make sure you trust the person you're playing with. You'll see why.
Come on!
It Takes Two. Just like A Way Out, It Takes Two is a pure co-op game where you and a friend play as a married couple, Cody and May, who are about to divorce, but after a weird magical accident, they get turned into tiny dolls. Now they have to work together to get back to their real bodies. The catch? They suck at being a couple, which makes the whole journey hilarious and messy. The gameplay is super creative. Every level has new mechanics, so you're never doing the same thing twice. One minute you're flying on a bird, the next you're shrinking and growing with a magic belt. You'll swing across gaps, ride on spiders, and even have snowball fights. It's constantly surprising you with fun new stuff. The puzzles and platforming are perfectly designed for co-op. You'll need to communicate a lot, whether you're pulling levers or timing jumps. And the boss fights, insanely fun. They force you to use teamwork, and every fight feels unique. And man, the visuals are super charming. The world feels like a giant, colorful playground with tons of little details. You'll run through snow globes, climb over toolboxes, and ride on frogs. The cartoony style makes everything feel lighthearted and fun. At the end of the day, It Takes Two is one of the best co-op games ever made. It's fun, creative, and surprisingly emotional. If you've got a friend or partner, this is a must-play. Just be ready to yell at each other a little because some puzzles will test your friendship.
Up we go!
Nice! Progress!
The Ascent. The Ascent is a top-down cyberpunk RPG where you run, gun, and wreck everything in sight. You play as an indent, basically a corporate slave for some greedy megacorp, but when the company suddenly goes bankrupt, the whole city turns into a war zone. Now, you're stuck in the chaos, fighting through gangs, killer robots, and corrupt factions just to stay alive. The combat is, well, again, fast and brutal. You're constantly blasting through waves of enemies with big-ass guns, machine guns, flamethrowers, rocket launchers, you name it. You can take cover, but most of the time, you're better off charging in and unloading everything. The screen gets packed with explosions, and it just feels badass. Plus, you get augments like deploying combat drones, hacking enemy turrets, or slowing down time, which makes the fights feel chaotic and fun. The RPG stuff is solid too. You'll level up, unlock skills, and customize your build. Want to beef up your health and tank everything? Go for it. Want to boost speed and dodge around like a maniac? You can do that too. The gear system is addictive. You're always finding new weapons and armor, and tweaking your loadout is half the fun. But bro, the world is insane. It's pure cyberpunk eye candy. The city is packed with neon lights, massive holograms, and crowded streets full of NPCs just doing their thing. You'll be walking past street vendors, through seedy clubs, or into shady back alley labs. It's so detailed and alive, you'll probably spend half your time just wandering around, taking in the vibe. Sifu. Sifu is a brutal, no-nonsense beat-em-up where you play as a martial artist out for revenge. Your family gets murdered by a crew of assassins, and now you're hunting them down one by one. But here's the kicker. Every time you die, you age. So you start off young and fast, but the older you get, the slower but stronger you become. It's a brilliant risk-reward system that makes every fight feel intense as hell. The combat is straight up insane. You're ducking, weaving, and countering like a kung fu badass. The hits feel meaty, the animations are slick, and when you pull off a perfect parry into a finisher, it's just chef's kiss satisfying. You can throw enemies into walls, smash their faces into tables, and use random objects as weapons. It's fluid, fast, and honestly, it makes most action games look clunky in comparison. But the game doesn't hold back. It'll wreck you over and over until you get good. You'll die a lot at first, and seeing your character age right before your eyes is friggin' brutal. 1 minute you're a spry 20-something, and after a few rough fights, you're an old man with a wicked beard throwing haymakers like your life depends on it. Because it friggin' does! The levels are pure eye candy. You'll brawl through neon-lit nightclubs, fight in rain-soaked back alleys, and throw down in trippy dreamscapes where the environment warps around you. It's got bold colors, slick camera angles, and stylistic flair that makes every fight feel like a scene out of a martial arts flick. And look, replaying levels feels rewarding. You'll get your ass handed to you at first, but as you master the mechanics, you'll start flying through fights, barely aging at all. It's super satisfying when you finally beat a boss without losing a decade off your life.